I don't know where you would get married if you went back to the place where you met your spouse. Where would that be? And you got married at that place where you met your spouse.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, Mark and Cindy would have to get married at McDonald's.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, so it was like 98, and Mark went in, wanted to get himself a Big Mac, I guess, and Cindy was in there, probably getting a Happy Meal, milkshake, something like that. And they're in line, and he sees her out of the corner of his eye, and he was like, wow, she is gorgeous. And she gave him a little, hey, how you doing? And they started talking. They exchanged numbers, I guess, right there at McDonald's, and it was just love from then on. They've been married 27 years now.
Look at that.
So
well,
they would have to
congratulations. Get married where there's Big Mac. For Scott, I mean, I don't know if you know Scott's story or not, but he met his wife at a wedding reception.
Yeah. I did the same thing. I'm like, she is gorgeous. I got to meet her.
But
so,
Grandma,
yeah, I did.
Grandma would have to be, maid of honor, matron of honor?
I mean, you're going to have to quickly tell the story because not everybody knows this.
Okay, it's a wedding I almost didn't go to. It was a mutual friend, and I was at the reception, and Elise's grandmother came up to me and tapped me on the shoulder, and she said, hi, would you like to meet my granddaughter? And she pointed to her, and of course, Elise was the maid of honor, and I saw her, and I said, absolutely. So we talked, met, started dating shortly thereafter.
2 kids later.
Yeah, but what Scott didn't say is that she went up to every single guy
in the whole place
and said, "You want to meet my granddaughter?"
The funny thing is, when I got to Elise and started talking to her a little bit, she had this look of like, oh no, not another one. And I later found out why she had that look, because her grandmother introduced about every guy at the reception to her.
Well, but you'd have to get married at a wedding, so that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, at a reception.
At a reception.
At a reception. So if you were to get married where you met, where would that be?
You're listening to Rob and Lizz in the morning.
His radio.
It's Rob and Lizz in the morning, his radio. So here's a couple, and they met at a McDonald's, wound up getting married.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice?
Been married 27 years. They met in line as he was ordering a Big Mac. That's pretty cool. All right, so where would you get married if you had to get married where you met?
Here's an open mic that just came in from the My HISRadio app.
If I had to go back to the place where I met my husband and get married, it would be at a trailer park, and I'm not sure that trailer park is still there, and we've been together for 26 years, but that's not gonna happen.
She's not going to go back and get married there.
I do not blame you a bit at the trailer park.
Krista texted. She said, okay, when I met, I was a rookie police officer. He was a lieutenant with the fire department. We lived in the same city, and I pulled him over for speeding.
Ooh.
It was not love at first sight, but they're going to be celebrating coming up in April. So would they get married, on 26, on 85? Like, where would you
I-77 getting married right there on the interstate.
Oh, that's hilarious. Karen texted and said we'd have to get married on the tailgate field at East Carolina University. We've been married 18 and a half years now.
Oh, well, congratulations.
And that would be a lot of fun to get married right in the middle of a tailgate.
Right.
I mean, everybody's brought the food. You don't have to get catering.
You see?
Yeah.
There's a plan right there.
You're listening to Rob and Lizz in the morning.
His radio.
Where you met for the very first time, if that was your wedding site for the one you married. Check out these open mics that just came in.
Good morning. I met my fiance Will on a Christian dating app called Upward. You get to read each other's testimonies. But our first date was at the Frankie's Fun Park in Harbison. So I guess that you could say we would be getting married on the Frankie's Fun Park mini golf course, because that is where the majority of our date took place. And now, a little over a year and a half later, we are getting married in just a few months. We are so excited. Thanks, guys. Love listening to y'all.
If I had to go back to where we first met, it'd be Firestone. She was a customer and I was the tire manager, and she needed to get her vehicle's oil changed. Now we've been married almost 14 years.
My husband and I met at the North Georgia Wildlife Park, and we had our wedding there in 2021.
Well, congratulations. That's the newest one.
Yeah, exactly. I love these.
Wildlife Park, Frankie's Fun Park, all these different places.
Well, Roxanne texted, and she said, I'd have to get married to him at Lowe's because we were both working there, so that's where we met. And then Rachel texted and said, my husband and I met at IHOP in Augusta, Georgia, but we can't get married there because it's no longer there.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rachel.
Maybe any IHOP. Amy texted and said, if my husband Mark and I were to marry where we met, I ran him off the road and ran him into a ditch.
What? Amy.
And then they got married like 6 months later. So I need to know, did he ask for your insurance card?
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
This little boy really likes the waiter, so he did something really kind for him. It's Rob and Liz in the morning, his radio.
Yeah, so what this little kid, he went to this restaurant a lot with his family, and the waiter and he just struck up a conversation, got to know each other, and they found out a little bit more about Devontae and his family. They had been living in a house that was kind of overtaken by black mold and things like this, and didn't have a car, did not have a vehicle to get back and forth, whether it was to school or to work or wherever they needed to go. And one of the family members had been really ill. So anyway, the family goes back and the kid has the idea that he wants to do something good for his friend. So they started a GoFundMe page.
Good for him.
Right?
And how well did it do?
It, at first, when I first looked at it, it was like $3,000-$4,000, right? Then it grows. It's over $100,000.
Get out.
Right now. Yeah, in fact, between yesterday afternoon, it was $100,000. This morning, first thing, it was $103,000, almost $104,000.
So it keeps growing.
It just keeps growing.
Nice.
And so maybe possibly because it's at that point, the family can move, get into a place that, does not have that black mold.
Boy, yeah, get out of there.
Right?
And a nice car on top of it.
A nice
right?
car and maybe some money left over for those medical bills.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
Here's this grandma. She has 3 grandkids with her, an older sister, a 7-year-old, and a 3-year-old boy. And as they're hiking, the dog that they had with them went down onto a little ledge. Mm-hmm. And the 3-year-old's like, oh, let me get the dog. And he went to go get the dog and fell 100 feet. It was so scary.
Yeah, but the 7-year-old brother did not hesitate. He went after him. Like, he dove down to save his little brother. Did they get hurt? They did get hurt, but they're recovering now. The 7-year-old wasn't nearly as badly injured.
No, and it was kind of really heroic because he didn't go down the same path that his little 3-year-old brother did. He kind of slid down some rocks, got a little parkour going on, and went down to the river where his brother was and was able to hold his head up because he was in a river at that point.
Right, and he needed to keep his head elevated. And it's awesome that he knew to do those types of things.
At 7 years old?
Right.
I mean, wow, hello. And then 16 minutes later, the rescuers were there. It was quick.
Oh, I'm sure.
How quick they got there.
Grandma got on 911. Are you kidding me?
Right.
And got those first responders there. So they were, of course, taken to the hospital. The family went. And now there's a GoFundMe page because little Riley, he's the 3-year-old, was still in the hospital. I'm not sure that he's out of the hospital, but he is recovering now because this just happened like about a week and a half ago.
Yeah, very recent on that hike.
So the GoFundMe is doing really well, trying to help offset some of those hospital bills.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
The world is going to be obese. We're going to turn into the people of Wall-E
right
by 2035.
Yeah, more than half the people on the planet. That's 4 billion people are going to be labeled as obese.
That's something.
2035. And, you can see, honestly, when you go get your dinner out somewhere, the portion sizes.
At least in America.
Yes.
They're huge.
Yes. And it's wild. I just came off a cruise, and I'm telling you, I feel like maybe it's not just America because it was, everybody that was on there were cleaning their plates, basically. And we have been raised, I think, to a certain degree to do just that and not leave food on our plates.
Well, and all the stuff that's out there. Yeah. I mean, I'll be the first to admit, I like carbs.
Well, yeah. Carbs are my kryptonite, too. Like, oh, my goodness, if it's crunchy and, if I have a choice between potato chips and an apple, I should choose the apple.
Yeah.
I'll always go that way.
I brought the apple this morning.
Right? You have to make conscious choices.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were times like last week, I would just say, okay, I'm going to eat not until I'm satisfied. Quite honestly, because it tastes so good. It's so yummy.
Right.
But just that I know that this is the size of the portion. And I only put on a pound last week.
Good for you.
I know. I was so scared, to come home and get on the scale. I was like, oh, no.
Didn't take the elevator, evidently.
No, I did. We took the stairs a lot.
Good for you.
Because there were a lot of people, and so we didn't want to wait on the elevator.
Yeah.
But we took it a few times.
So turning a new leaf to be a healthy lifestyle, not to be one of the obese by 2023.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
This is sad when you think about it. It was, 92, when all of a sudden Bob came home and his wife wasn't there anymore. He's searched for 31 years. At one point, people said, she's no longer with us. Just move on. But he searched and searched and searched. Recently, they found her.
Right.
And she's in Puerto Rico, right?
She's in Puerto Rico. She's in an assisted living facility type thing. And so they tried to put, the last 31 years, what happened in the middle? Looks like about 7 years after she went missing is when somebody found her, and she was in need of some help. She had gone down a road mental health issues and that kind of thing, and that was in 1999. But they couldn't trace where she was. She couldn't really communicate where she had been. She was a street preacher back in the early 90s, and she still had that love of God even all these years later, but there were some issues that she was having a hard time dealing with.
Yeah, and today she might have had more help.
Yeah.
If this happened in today's world, right?
Right. And, maybe if this had happened now, he would have, with social media, with Facebook, Instagram, that kind of thing, maybe they could have connected those dots a little sooner, but at least, even 31 years later, he got some sort of closure and is able to visit his wife. I don't know if she remembers him or, where she is mentally right now, but at least there's some closure there.
And all that love, all these years.
All these years, never gave up hope.
Never.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
I have no idea what this is, but they're making a big deal out of Dole Whip coming to stores. I think it's only amusement parks or something.
Yeah, some of the amusement parks, you can get the Dole Whip. It's frozen, especially when it's so hot.
I like the what is it? Whipped cream. There's a certain whipped cream that I like. I've never seen the Dole Whip, but I like the.
Is it Cool Whip?
Yeah, that's it. Cool Whip.
Oh, okay. You like the Cool Whip.
Yeah.
Okay, but this is not like that. It's pineapple, and it's almost like sorbet.
So,
in a way.
I don't know what sorbet is. I think that's an ice cream or something, right?
It's more of an ice, but
it's an ice.
More of than an ice cream. It's between an ice, like an Italian ice, and an ice cream is what sorbet is.
Sherbet.
And what this sort of like sherbet.
Sherbet.
Yeah.
That's horrible. Why don't they just call it sherbet then?
Because it's not.
Because so they put the whipped cream, this Dole whipped cream on sherbet?
No. And I don't think there's any whipped cream in the Dole Whip. It's just the way it's made. It's whipped, sort of. Yeah. But it's frozen and it's pineapple-y goodness.
If it's whipped, why don't they just call it whipped cream?
Because not whipped cream. I don't know that there's any cream in
the stuff is coming to stores and people are like, woohoo.
It is. The mix is coming to stores. So I have some at home because I want to say it was somebody's birthday in our family, but I made a Dole Whip cake. And it was delicious.
Wait a minute. So this is a cake? It's not an ice cream?
No, this is a frozen concoction.
A frozen
yummy. And you use the mix and you put the dry mix into a cake with pineapple juice and things
Scott
like that.
can bring clarity to this because you're confusing me.
Thank you, please, Scott.
I'm so confused right now.
Take the floor.
I've heard of Dole Whip. I've never tried it though, but excited. What? But how do you make it at home? I thought it came in a pre-contained package.
So if you get it at one of the amusement parks, obviously it's already put together, but you get the mix. You know how you buy pudding mix and you add milk to it?
Oh, it's pudding.
Oh, my goodness.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
This job sounds like it'd be kind of interesting. It's Rob and Liz in the morning, his radio.
We live so close, or at least close enough to the Great Smoky Mountains that you can get to them and enjoy them, which is nice. I mean, the Rockies are so far away, but the mountain range of the Great Smokies are just gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
I absolutely love it. And they're doing something, and they're looking for volunteers right now. It's not necessarily a job, but it's for volunteers, and it's Adopt a Plot. And what they're hopeful for is that there will be people that will take on a plot of the Great Smoky Mountains and just watch the trees from the first bloom to the last leaf drop. And then all the data that you collect and just observing what's going on, they're going to study.
So do you get to live there, or do you set up cameras, or do you just go check on it every day?
Well, if Liz is really interested in this, there's an orientation going on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Virtually. So
that's kind of cool. So get all the questions answered, because I don't honestly think you could do that from a couple of states away.
No, you can't, unless you're there every weekend. Because you've got to observe the thing a lot.
That's the thing.
We're there a couple of times a year in the Great Smokies. I mean, I love Cherokee and not Gastonia.
Gatlinburg.
Gastonia's nowhere near the Great Smokies, but Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge and all those areas.
Yeah, but not enough, not once a week.
No, I can't plot. I can't adopt a plot and watch a couple of trees for a whole season.
But maybe it gives you an excuse to get away every week.
You're listening to Rob and Lizz in the morning.
His radio.
Back during the pandemic, Columbia University, one of the Ivy League universities, decided they were going to drop the need to take the ACT and the SAT. So that stuck around for a couple of years. They have decided to extend it. So if you have a kid, maybe a junior, senior that is thinking about going to Columbia University, first of all, good on you, because that's a really good school. They're not going to have to take the ACT or the SAT. It's not going to have anything to do with
their
enrollment.
Is that a trend for a lot of colleges?
I think they're starting to do that around the country. And I think maybe during the pandemic, they saw maybe there wasn't as much of a need for it. I wish that had been the case when I tried to go to college.
Yeah, because Scott's daughter, she's getting ready to go to college here soon, right?
She is. She's a high school junior, so she's starting to get into that prep for a lot of those tests. And she's studying right now for the ACT. And, man, I'm so proud of her. Because I stumbled and bumbled my way through the SAT, but she is really doing the practice tests and studying, getting ready for that soon. So
you can study for that?
You can.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know it either when I took the test, and I bombed because I answered every single question. And with the SAT, I don't know about the ACT. You don't have to do that. Like, if you didn't cover it in school, how can you answer it?
And I don't know if my kids, I have two that one went to North Greenville University. One just graduated a couple of months ago from Anderson University. And I don't remember if they studied for an SAT or the other AT, whatever the AT is.
ACT.
That one.
Well, I think you can take classes within school, if I'm not mistaken, but you can also take like outside tutoring and that kind of thing if you really want to.
If you really want
nail
to
that test and really get. But if you're going to Columbia or thinking about it, they are not going to require it, at least right now.
I wonder how many others are doing that.
Yeah, I don't know about the others, but that one for sure.
Rob and Lizz.
His morning crew.
I don't know what you would do, but man, there's overprotectiveness that I probably would have done differently.
Too overprotective or not protective enough?
Too overprotective with a couple of them.
Me too.
Yeah, and as I had children, see, mine are far apart. I have a 37-year-old. Yes, I'm 92 years old. A 26-year-old, a 21-year-old, and a 14-year-old. Wow. All different decades, all different things that they were raised with, like technology for the 14-year-old, where you barely got a cell phone or a pager for the 37-year-old.
Pager.
You know? Pager, you're like, hey, I'm a doctor.
I know. I just got beat.
I am important. So there's all that stuff, you know? So I was overprotective and very strict when I was younger because I had no dad. Mm-hmm. And I'm walking into, Wes is, I met him, my first son, when he was 4.
Oh, right.
So I don't know what I'm doing as a dad.
Wow.
You know?
Trial by fire a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, wouldn't be shocked when your kids confess stuff.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know, a couple of those things.
Yeah, I was a single mom with Taylor, my oldest, for 7 years. And I was in control of everything. And that was really difficult to kind of let that control go when I met my husband and we had 2 other children, Luke and Hayden. And so that is something I tried to control everything that they did. I'm very type A. I like to have my, hands on the wheel kind of thing. I wish I would have backed off that a little bit. And I'm sure they wish I would have backed off
I was involved with Spencer's full youth group. from middle school to high school, and I see that he's really strong in making his faith his own.
Oh, that's good.
I'm doing that with Eli, but I didn't do that with the two older ones, and I'm like, man, I wish I would have done that.
Yeah.
Because there's too many different types of forces coming at the students now.
Right.
From all these different angles that's dragging them down. And so, when you have somebody in their life like that, it helps a little.
Yeah, and I think we can all look back and see, I wish I would have done that a little more, a little less. But
all I know is that Scott, our news guy, has done everything perfectly.
he's perfect.
Oh, my goodness. Are you kidding? I look back and go, why did I do that or didn't do that? I think I would try to carve out more one-on-one time because I've got 2 kids, and just treasure those moments, try to make those play times a little more frequent, and amidst all the craziness of life and work, just try to create those bonding moments, more of those.
One thing I will say that I think I did right, one thing, only one, is I tried to make dates with each of my kids. Like once a month, say, okay, Hayden, this is your date. You get to choose. Don't get crazy. But, and then did it with all 3. But lots of regrets, unfortunately.
Yeah. The biggest thing, though, is Proverbs 22:6. Start children off in the way they should go, and even when they're old, they won't depart from it.